Hey, what's up you guys? Welcome to another video on my channel. Quarantine edition, isolation station still in full effect around here. I honestly thought that I wouldn't have to make another video on Doctor Who. I thought that that would pretty much be it because I think I've made it pretty evident that I'm not happy with the the most recent years, probably from 2012 onwards, and that narrative gets a little old when pretty much all I have to say is that I think it's terrible. But I did want to give my thoughts on a new idea that they're doing that is going to include all of the Doctors, or at least a great number of them. So considering the fact that that will include my era and my Doctors, I wanted to sort of give my thoughts on this idea they have, because it's such a, I think it's kind of weird, but we'll get to that. Before I do that, I want to give my very brief thoughts on Farewell Sarah Jane. Farewell Sarah Jane was an audio story that got released a couple of weeks ago to commemorate the 9th anniversary of the passing of Elizabeth Sladen. Elizabeth Sladen being the actress who portrayed Sarah Jane Smith in Tom Baker and John Pertwee's era, alongside David Tennant's era, and she did an episode with Matt Smith as well, actually. So she's actually probably done the most episodes with the most different Doctors. But she was a big part of Doctor Who in general, both classic and modern era, and she passed away in 2011 from cancer. And April commemorated the 9th anniversary of her passing, and to commemorate that, Russell T Davies wrote an audio story called Farewell Sarah Jane, and it included different actors from both modern and classic Who era. Sophie Aldred was in it, Katie Manning was in it, the actors from the Sarah Jane Adventures were in it, and it was basically an audio story about the funeral of Sarah Jane. And I thought that I'd get annoyed at it. My philosophy has always been, if there's no problem with it, leave it alone. Like, why do you need to do this now, 9 years after she's passed away? And I was convinced that they were going to fuck it up, because they fucked up the Brigadier's death when they had done it so beautifully, and then they fucked it up later on. But I'm not here to talk about that because I'm trying not to do a rant video, so we won't get into that. But I didn't mind it. I listened to it and I didn't mind it. There were things that bothered me in it, but they didn't bother me enough to the point of rage. Some things were a bit silly, some things didn't make sense to me, but it didn't take away from the listening experience of commemorating Sarah Jane, Elizabeth Sladen. I thought they were going to try and write some bullshit way she died, but they didn't. It was all based around her funeral. The only thing I didn't like was that Rani had like this speech at the end about how she thought that Sarah Jane wasn't really dead and was travelling with the Doctor somewhere. I didn't like that, because I think it's very important to put in kids programs, in programs that younger people are watching, that I think it's important to include the fact that death is a very real thing and it can actually happen. And Elizabeth Sladen has passed away. She's been dead for 9 years now, and it was a tragedy when she passed. And I think it's very important to include the very real possibility of that to kids. Not enough to like have them like terrified, like you're all gonna die kind of thing, but treating kids like adults makes them appreciate the program that they're watching more. And I just would have appreciated it if they had left that bit out, but as I say, it wasn't enough to make me really angry. So it was okay. It didn't annoy me. I didn't think it was fantastic either, but it was okay. It was innocent enough, and I'm not enraged by its existence. So the thing that I want to talk about now is this multimedia story that they're wanting to work on now. Apparently it's going to be released later in 2020, I think, called the Timelord Victorious. And the Timelord Victorious is basically, well, the way they describe it is that it's a multimedia story that is going to include different Doctors at different times, and I think the way that it's going to be is that each Doctor is going to get a story of their own that can be listened to or watched or consumed separately, but they can also all get weaved together at the end if you do watch them all. And it's all revolved around Gallifrey and the Time War, or a new Time War. I'm not entirely clear on that. There's not a whole lot of details just yet, but it's described as multimedia, and that means that there's going to be episodes, audio stories, comic books, just written stories. It's all going to be in like different media formats. And the only way that I think that they're doing that, well, the way that I think that they're doing that for, like, my logic for that would be, is the fact that there's going to be 12 different episodes, and there are currently 12 doctors, excluding Jodie Whittaker. And the only reason I'm excluding Jodie Whittaker from this is the fact that she's a current doctor, and that probably means something else for her. And if they're going to do an episode per doctor, then 3 doctors have already passed away. William, Patrick and John are long gone, and it would only make sense then to write stories around them, like write a comic book or a story or something like that that revolves around their doctors. And then Tom Baker, I think, would only have the ability to do an audio story now. From what I can tell, he's getting old, you know. It's sadly something that comes for all of us. And then Peter Davison, Sylvester McCoy and Colin Baker don't exactly look the way they did as the Doctor, and it wouldn't exactly make sense to have like a visual representation of a story with them, although I would be willing to suspend my disbelief if it was to see them on screen again. I would suspend my disbelief of the fact that the Doctor's aged or whatever. I don't know about you guys, but I would be willing to do that. And then there's rumours that Christopher Eccleston is returning. Considering the fact the only article I have seen that says Christopher Eccleston is returning is from The Sun, and I trust The Sun as much as I would trust the news from my 3-year-old nephew. So I wouldn't count my chickens just yet on whether Christopher Eccleston is actually returning, because he wasn't part of the Doctor return for the NHS, which I fully respect, and I understand that there's a lot that went on between Christopher Eccleston and the BBC, and I don't feel like I'm in a position to comment on his decision or what happened between them unless I knew the full picture, which I don't. So I'm sure there was a very reasonable explanation as to why he wasn't part of that. But because of that, I'm very reluctant to believe that he's actually going to become a part of this, unless they're going to write a story for him too, or a comic book, etc. And then obviously David Tennant, I think Paul McGann, and probably Peter Capaldi, Matt Smith, etc. are all going to be in visual stories. Now this is just me speculating, because we've been given a very sort of basic outline of what this Time Lord Victorious thing is going to be. We know that's going to be with different monsters like the Daleks, the Ood. It's going to be something to do with the Time War and Gallifrey, and we know that's going to be in multimedia platforms. So I'm just trying to apply a bit of logic onto which Doctor would have which media format, and I might be completely wrong. There mightn't be any of the classic Doctors in this. It might just be the people who are on the poster. And I hope not, because I think it's very important to acknowledge the classic era, that it happened, and that Doctor Who wouldn't be here today if it wasn't for the classic era. I was very annoyed about the 50th anniversary and the fact that they only included Tom Baker. I mean, was he even the Doctor? It's unknown. So I felt that was a very kick in the face to the classic era when they were celebrating the 50th anniversary. And the 5-ish Doctors reboot is actually much better than the 50th anniversary, and I recommend everyone go and watch it right now. It's basically about Peter Davison, Colin Baker and Sylvester McCoy trying to get into the 50th anniversary special, and it's just beautiful. It's so funny, and you have to watch it if you haven't already. I think it's on YouTube or it's on BBC iPlayer or something like that. So I have a very was there a need kind of attitude towards these things. I don't understand why they're doing this now. The only reason I could maybe imagine that they're doing this now is that season 12 failed spectacularly, and they're trying to claw back their fan base, and they're trying to make money by saying, oh, David Tennant's going to be here, Paul McGann, Christopher Eccleston, Billy Piper's here, and come on, we're still cool, we're still Doctor Who. That's the only reason I can think that they're doing this, because there's no anniversary, there's no that, as far as I'm aware of, there's no anniversary coming up just yet. There's no special occasion to do with Doctor Who that would warrant all the Doctors coming back for something like this. So I'm nearly 50-60% convinced that they're doing this because the current series of Doctor Who is failing so spectacularly that they need to get the fans back or make some sort of money or profit, or else we're getting very close to cancellation. That scary C word that all the Jodie Whittaker fans are denying the existence of, which I think is very foolish because it has happened. Doctor Who was popular before and it got cancelled, but there's not a lot that we know yet. Like, everything I've said is pretty much all we know at the moment. All I know at the moment. Maybe I've missed an article somewhere that explains it more, but I just don't know if there's a need for this at the minute. But it's happening. Like, I can't do anything about it, and I would be interested if it involved some of the older Doctors, if it included them respectfully, i.e. not what they did to William Hartnell in Twice Upon a Christmas. So yeah, I'd be interested to see where this is going, but I'm also very wary. I'm not going to get excited, and I'm going to be very careful about how I view this, because current Doctor Who writers haven't exactly proven themselves able to write the classic era respectfully, so I'm just gonna tread on eggshells with this one. So what do you guys think? Have you heard of the Time Lord Victorious? Have you heard more than what I've said? Is there more information that I'm missing here? Comment down below. Are you excited? Are you not excited? Could you care less? I wish I could care less about everything. I get too involved in everything. It'd be so much easier if I just didn't care. And I'll see you next time. Check out my socials down below. And remember to check out the 5-ish Doctors reboot. Trust me, you won't regret it, okay? See ya.